convention and almost ruled that when work is taking place in a constituency, that the elected representatives of the persons must be consulted and discussions must be taking place, and if even for information basis, these things must be done. And what has happened here is that this situation that occurred today has come about largely because those procedures were bypassed. And I think all of us as members here feel strongly that that must not be allowed to happen, and that going forward, I think that this serves as a warning to all ministries, departments, and agencies that they will be held accountable for the procedures in so much as the work. And so on behalf of the committee, I am putting that forward. A point was made with regard to the discussion of the members employed to the ministry and the consultants in general, and a request was made by the committee that they wanted some more time to look at the issues. And what I'm going to do is say to members that we will call back not just the Ministry of Tourism, but we will look at the consultant advisors in a broader way. We will look at the Public Accountabilities Act. We'll look at the rules and regulations so that we can better make recommendations to Parliament on how we think that the governance structure can be improved and strengthened. What I will do is allow members who have any specific concerns or questions with regard to these matters to indicate to the clerk what those are, so that those questions can be relayed to the relevant bodies for response. But we will not take the response from them today as agreed. So with that, I will open the committee now to any follow-up questions with regard to that. And I think where we left off, Member Stewart, I think had, well, I may preempt it, but if there are any questions with regards to ask the clerk moving forward, I now open the floor with regard to that.
That we would want also as a follow-up to get some clarification on the consultant, Dr. Waller at the University of the West Indies, who is assigned as a consultant to the Ministry of Tourism. So we'd want that one to be on the agenda as it relates.
Yeah, but you need to ask the specifics so that she can, because as members said, they would like to.
Is he a consultant at the Ministry of Tourism? Okay. And the salary that is involved in his consultancy work.
Okay. Are there any other questions with regard to that?
Just in terms of procedure, Chairman, just to be clear, the failure to ask, to posit any question on any particular item in the ministry, failure to do that today can be submitted or asked subsequently. Just want to be clear.
Yes, no, absolutely.
Okay.
And I think, and what the committee has really indicated that when we do so, we will allow it to be of a more general nature, but just give more time to deal. This is very specific items, but the need is for a broader discussion. All right? So members, if that is a decision we've made, what we will do is, with regard to the Ministry of Tourism, we are going to, through the clerk, submit the follow-up questions and some other information, and we will be calling them back at a later date. Not in the immediate, but soon, but at a later date, and we will be looking at the broader questions, because a number of questions have arisen about the consultants and how they operate and under the rules and relationships. So with that, members, I will release the Ministry of Tourism if members don't have any further questions for them. All right?
Just to be clear, so the matter submitted now, we are to set a date for those follow-up inquiries?
Yes.
We're going to do that today since they're here? Or?
No, we're not going to set the date today. Because we have an agenda and we're going to put it in within the context. But as I said, there are a number of other questions that need to be asked. All right, Pierce?
Thank you, Chairman. But I would love a chance, though, to say, to respond to some of the issues that came up. For one, Dr. Wallace is sitting right next to me, and his employment was questioned earlier on. The ministry, and he asked about the ministry's policies. The ministry has not changed its policies nor procedures. It's the same ministry that you left, it's the same ministry that is there today. Dr. Wallace was interviewed with a group of other applicants for the position of ED.
Members, let me say something. I'm willing to allow the permanent secretary to go on, but one must understand that we would then have to seek clarification as we proceed.
So on a point of order, I would think that we can leave it from, I would love to give the PS some advice that since the committee has had discussions and we've decided that this matter will be dealt with at another date,
all right,
I would ask that you hold your comments for now.
Okay, madam.
All right.
Okay, Chairman.
All right. So with that, PS, I know your intervention was limited, but you will get a lot of latitude next time to speak on the issues.
Okay.
And I want to thank you and the team, and you will be informed by the clerk as we move forward.
Okay.
All right. Members, we now move to the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. And what we have here is really a review of the youth programs, which I think we're all interested in. But what I would ask is that I would allow the Permanent Secretary to introduce his team and then members' information. This is something that's been there on the agenda, I think, for 3 or 4 weeks. I will allow the members to then intervene. So, Pierce, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members. The team from the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information comprises our Permanent Secretary, Roy Bernard, of course, Dr. Grace McLean, our Chief Education Officer, Mrs. Sonia Banton, our Principal Finance Officer, Mr. Lincoln Johnson, our Senior Director Compliance, Ms. Hyacinth Blair, our Senior Director Children's Affairs and Policy, Ms. Nikita West, our Senior Director Youth and Adolescents Policy Division, and Ms. Olivia McFarlane, Coordinator, Leg Secretariat. And we also have Ms. Faulkner from the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service with us. Thank you, Chairman.
Yes. All right. So, Pierce, I'll give you an opportunity. What we have here is the youth programs, basically the Ministry of Youth, or the area of youth within the ministry, and to have a discussion about how those programs are, because there are some concerns, I think, where I wouldn't go as strongly as that. I think members would like to be apprised of how those programs and how we can intercept into them, and the process by which they are implemented.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So the Ministry of Education had annexed to it the portfolio for youth in 2016, and since then, Mr. Chairman, we have had several programs that fall under that arm of the ministry. We have the youth leadership program, and under that we have the National Secondary Students Council program. We have also a program for our Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students, and we have certainly, you'd have seen last year the robustness of the National Youth Parliament. We have the Jamaica Youth Ambassadors program. We have the Youth Advisory Council of Jamaica program, and also we have the Youth Charge Up project, which is critical to our, our recalibration of our youth clubs in our communities. We also have our Learning, Earning, Givings and Savings program. So those are the programs that we have under watch as part of our youth division of the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information.
Okay. With regard, and members, I think that one of the programs that is in the Ministry of Youth is the Charge Up rallies. And members, are you aware of the Charge Up rallies? I don't know if any of you as members have any of those programs. A youth Charge Up rally. Yeah. And again, well, let me say, members, well, could you tell us more about it? And I'll tell you within the context of, but
very
please,
well,
go ahead.
Very well, Mr. Chairman. So the Youth Club Charge Up project, and as you indicate, as you would see, it's a project, it's a strategy to really get our clubs in our communities reactivated. And we started that with a launch in September of 2017.
Last year, September.
Last year, September. So members may not be so au fait with it because of its newness. We started out in Morant Bay, St. Thomas.
Morant Bay?
Morant Bay, St. Thomas with the launch. And since then, we hosted rallies in Burn Savannah in Westmoreland and Holland Bamboo in St. Elizabeth.
And where?
Holland Bamboo in St. Elizabeth. And we can say that approximately 500 young persons participated in both rallies.
In all three?
Yeah, well, in all three. In all three. In excess of 500 persons participated in all three. And the youth participants they benefited from youth service and programs offerings, and they were able to interface with the NYS, the HEART, the RADA, the Jamaica Foundation for Lifelong Learning. Certainly there were offerings from the Jamaica Library Service, the Jamaica Fire Brigade, the JCF, the SDC. We also have financial literacy program support from AIM Financial, JNWay, and we also had support from the Ministry of Health and the Jamaica 4-H. So we are in those communities now, but the expectation is that the program will continue and will be ramped up. The aim is to really get our young persons engaged and attached through these clubs, and certainly it is one of our anti-crime strategies that we are using. This is an area of vulnerability for our country, where the 18 to 24 age cohort is one that we have to have a strategic look at to ensure that all persons are in a program of engagement to our country. And so we are very proud of the program, and we are really willing to be able to promote and expose that to the PAC.
Who is in charge of the program?
Could we just confirm where those youth rallies have been held? Because Burt Savannah is the chairman's constituency, and chairman doesn't seem aware at all. So as members of parliament, we would love to understand how they go about choosing where. Do they have a schedule? Do you notify the members of parliament? I noticed Chairman was being very nice and not mentioning that he knows nothing about it and it is right there in Burn Savannah, Westmoreland.
I'm allowing my committee to take on a life of its own. Yes, I think those are Chairman, all valid questions.
I would have benefited from hearing of the discourse earlier. And I would have checked with my office. And the information is that Chairman...
Who is in charge of the program?
The program is administered through the Youth Division, which is headed by Nakita West, who sits behind me. And she has advised me that, in fact, your office was contacted and there was an apology. There was dialogue with your office about the project, but even though there was a letter was also sent, a letter of invitation was also sent, but for whatever reason you were not able to attend.
I think, you know, with due respect, I think, I mean, I'm always willing to get into some specifics, but before we go, I think there were some general questions asked, and I think that if we can go down that line, then we can discuss the other elements of it. So I think I have two questions here from Mr. Jackson, Mr. Stewart, but the member from East Rural made the point that one, Chedax was in charge, two, how are these selected, and the process by which it is done. So I think if you gave some general, and then maybe through personal experience, we can give you some ideas on how you can tighten it up.
Chairman, thank you very much. And we have used the data to guide us, and certainly what we have in 2005, we had 1,356 clubs, and we saw that waned in 2017 to 311. And so based on the audit that was done, the decision was taken that we are going to move with alacrity to have these clubs revitalized. The question of scheduling, when we looked at the question of scheduling is something that I think
what the member is really asking, you started with St. Thomas and moved to Westmoreland. And even in the parish, you pick specific areas. We're asking you how you arrive at that. When you move to Kingston, will you do it in East Rural, West Rural? What, you know, if you go to St. Catherine, I know you may not go into the northern belt at all, but you may go down to Portmore. What informs you?
Right. So for example, we had a launch in St. Thomas. We moved to Westmoreland because our records are showing that there was only one youth club in Westmoreland. So it's an area that we believe was primed to have
one youth club.
One youth club.
All right. So who did you invite?
We invite young persons.
No, I understood you invited the youth clubs.
The
youth clubs.
Right, so we would have engaged with the youth clubs.
But you said there's only one.
But there's only one. There's only one.
I'm not certain about that.
Well,
I thought the information that came to me is that far more were invited. I think you better inform
Chairman,
yourself.
We have because I have with me here the audit report that was produced, and it does show that there was only one youth club that was really active in Westmoreland. So we believe that, and given the challenges that we know,
yes, is that from SDC? Where does the information?
The youth division did the audit, member.
No, where?
It was an internal audit that was done.
Oh, the Ministry of Education.
Ministry of Education.
Okay.
Right. So they did the audit, and we believe that, and I think all of us know some of the challenges that have been bearing on Westmoreland. So it was a decision taken to really charge up and have more youth clubs in Westmoreland, which we think would benefit the parish and in general.
So how did you go about that? You know, I'm just following. If you said there's only one youth club, who did you invite?
So in essence, Chairman, because there was one youth club, that had to be a starting point. So we had to now invite community the young people in the community to bring the idea of youth clubs to them and to ensure that out of that we can have more youth clubs, to push the program there so we can have more youth clubs in the parish.
Yes,
member. Yes, I want to stop here, Chairman.
Yes.
If it's on a point of order, because I do have some questions, but I think...
Not even questions, Chairman. It is almost like we would need to be able to move on from this place, because as a member of parliament, I know there is something called SDC. SDC has all the information about the various community-based groups, whether they be youth or otherwise, in every single constituency.
Thank you, member.
So for us at the Ministry of Education to be duplicating the efforts that are carried out by the SDC, doing our own audit and not being in a place where we're absolutely sure, and then going out and inviting persons and the Member of Parliament has no clue, even though you say you have communicated with the office. The members of parliament don't know. And even as government members and those on the opposition in general, we don't even know that this is going on, so that we could make overtures to the Ministry of Education and Youth to say, yes, we have some youth groups or we don't have enough, and we would like to be able to take this program to our constituency. So PS, we're at a place where we're happy for the report, but I am not sure how you're structuring where you're going to go. And since you've only been to 2 or 3 places so far and spent close to $17 million, it would be good, or 17 million is the budget.
Yes, thank you.
17.45 is the budget?
Yes.
All right, and I'm not sure, the allocation looks like you spent about 3.5?
3.5 million.
All right, before you spend any more, we would love to be in a place where we go through first the process of how you're going to structure. I would hope you take on board the fact that SDC is a good place for us to look, and to include the MPs. If you can't reach us through our office, just ask Parliament, please give you the telephone numbers, so that individually we can be reached if it is that you are coming to work on a wonderful program in any of our respective seats.
I will add, it is probably helpful if you're going to have a function on Saturday that you try not to inform the Member of Parliament on the Thursday. That may not be the best way to deal with it. But let me just ask a question. I think at the crux of it, I understood part of this program was to give some funds to the actual youth clubs. Am I wrong?
Certainly, you are correct. You're not wrong, Chairman.
And was it budgeted to give some money to the youth clubs in Westmoreland?
Yes, Chairman.
How much was budgeted?
It would be 30,000 per youth club.
And how much money was budgeted?
And we are still in the process of paying those out to the clubs.
So my question
that have been regularized.
And how much money is given to each club? 30,000?
30,000 per
And
club.
how much money was to be given? What was the budget for that?
30. So we had 14 clubs that were paid.
So my question, sir.
Chairman.
You started your statement by telling me there was only one club.
No, not in Westmoreland. I'm saying 14 clubs overall.
I asked you how many clubs in Westmoreland, what is the budget, and you told me. So what's the budget to be paid out in Westmoreland?
Chairman, if there's only one club at the time that was responded to our survey in Westmoreland. So we would have gone into Westmoreland to try and get additional clubs in Westmoreland.
So you have forms of clubs to give some
so
money to?
we are still in that process. It's a step-by-step
members,
process.
you do see the concern that is arising now, don't you?
And
I don't really have to ask a lot of questions here. I think every member is acutely aware that something is wrong.
Right. So I was going on, Chairman, with your leave, to just to indicate to Member Holness that we have in fact met with the SDC, the Social Development Commission, on our club program, and we have established a partnership with them. But it is something that happened just a month ago. So we are streamlining the club operations.
After the first two rallies?
After the first two rallies.
So who organized the rallies? It was in Westmoreland and St. Thomas?
It was organized to the youth, to our youth division.
So I go back. What was the budget for the clubs in Westmoreland?
We had 1.6 million allocated overall.
So you're talking about maybe 30 clubs? No,
55
more.
clubs. 55
clubs.
Yes.
So my question is, you're paying out to 55 clubs, but you tell me you can only find one. Don't you understand that as a member of parliament I have a little concern with that? And that is being done without SDC or any member of the other directorate, but only by you in the Ministry of Youth?
Chairman, I take the point. I take the point that it is an early intervention, and I am certainly happy for the comments. And I think that one of the reasons why we would be here also is to hear from you as to some of your recommendations, and we take them on board. We have started in the ministry.
Yeah, exactly. Member Holness has made the point. You should have asked that before you started. It's an absolute. We get back to what we have been discussing from this morning. Absolute neglect of the rules of procedures that guide the use of government funds. It can't, I mean, I just don't understand. You start by saying you find one club, your budget for 55, and tell me you're in the process of giving them out a loan and without any local organization or the political directorate or anything. It's unbelievable.
Just a question. I noticed on the expenditure statement for the 3 parishes, the Westmoreland figure is significantly higher than the other 2 parishes. The fact that there was only one club you're communicating with to assist with the mobilization, what would have contributed to St. Thomas and St. Elizabeth only costing $384 and Westmoreland costing $656,000?
I think I remember that the scope in Westmoreland would have been larger because of the needs.
Because of the one group.
The needs, because there was only one club, and we needed to reach a wider range of persons.
Yeah, but the question is, how many persons are in your youth department? The youth arm that deals with charge up. How many persons are in it?
We have 36 such persons, Chairman.
And those persons are in Westmoreland forming groups, youth groups?
Well, we have our youth empowerment officers who are on the ground. And we also have...
I have never met one of those. Members, have you ever met one of those officers?
Right. Well, we do have youth empowerment officers in our ministries, and they are on the ground. They work through the youth information centers.
Yes.
And they engage young persons.
Just to make sure that we understand, are those the same persons who deal with the NYS program? Because I think we need to clarify that youth department is the department that has been going around and doing the employment through NYS, and there's another program that is being run by the ministry. Is that the same department?
No, member. That's
not the same.
No, not the same.
Member
NYS
Jackson?
has to do with it's a training arm.
Member Jackson?
This is a development.
Just a follow-up.
Sorry, you were
just a follow-up. The youth empowerment officers I refer to would be the ones involved with the innovative centers.
Innovation centers, right.
The innovation centers.
Right.
So in Westmoreland you would have 2 such persons.
2 such persons.
And I'm following up on the comment by Member Holness. This thing here just look, really, they're chaka. It's just some things being done. I have happened to have the opportunity to serve as the youth minister in another life. One of the biggest challenges that youth portfolio had was the coordination of programs for youth, because they span different many different areas. In education, in health, in security, a number of areas. And that's what gave birth to the Youth Development Center as a central coordinating entity, which would be across ministries. And it was placed in, well, it started in local government, and I had asked to move it to education because most young people fall under education. Now it's split up back, and it is in, well, youth is in education, but SDC, which is a critical agency, is in local government. SDC has physical presence throughout the country. Throughout the country. You have youth throughout the country, but the coordinating entity is in education. The SDC officers are the one on the ground. SDC officers who I relate to in my constituency. If you are going to, from an education standpoint and a youth portfolio standpoint, you're going to execute something, a program on the ground. The SDC, in my mind, must be central. You can give policy direction from the youth portfolio in the Ministry of Education, but so far as execution, it must be the entities who have a presence on the ground. And they would perhaps execute the program for you. You design it, you give the direction, etc., and they execute. So you cut out the opportunity for overlap. Now, I don't even know about these things in my, I hear like a thing jumping up and down and our event here. There's no coordination. Why is it we're reinventing the wheel? Why is it we're not optimizing what we already have on the ground, given how limited the resources are? In fact, the SDC officer in any of the constituencies or communities could coordinate all of those, whatever you're doing, and you don't have to spend that extra money in personnel, but use it to do other support, because the truth be told, there is a sparsity of resources available, and it's across administration, right? It's just the reality we have to deal with. So you're not optimizing the resources. Lastly, Mr. Chairman, these talk about involving MPs. So one of the problems and why we, all of us across the divide, will share something in common. At the end of the day, when you come in with your one event and you are gone, it's us, we the MPs, then we come back too. We have to deal with the ongoing issue. So if government is going to be spending some funds, coordinate it with everybody involved, because we are part of government too as members of parliament and as councillors. You can't out there doing your own thing relating to the same set of people, and we don't have a clue what you're doing. What STC would do when they come in my constituency, in my parish, we sit down and they go over what their proposed set of programs are. I have given the opportunity to make an input based on my own experience and knowledge in the constituency, make an input in shaping the program. They don't just set the program and invite me at the event that they plan by themselves, devoid of any input from us as members of parliament. And then you invite us to a ceremony to come and celebrate. It's like window dressing, to call us there. And worse yet, as the chairman said, you call 1 or 2 days before the event. Oh, we're having this event. Then when we don't show up, you say, the word get out there with the business with the young people, and that's why we are not there. We are not there at no stage of the planning, nor the execution. And when you are gone, you want us now to support what residue is left of it. It can't work so. So, Mr. Chairman, submit this whole program need fleshing out by the ministry, and the fleshing out need to be done in collaboration with other agencies of the state that have the similar task and responsibility, so we can get the maximum output of every dollar spent, because all of the monies you spend and what SCC spend come from one place, taxpayers.
Brethren, it was me after Fitz. Thank you, Chairman. I want to concur with Member Jackson, because this seems to be a disjointed program. because whenever the SDC is having its program, they normally consult with the MPs. We sit down in my constituency, and I pledge a certain amount of my funds from my CDF as relates to the program. But we are not aware of this program as it relates to these youths in our constituency. I would like to find out, Chairman, through to the peers, how many youth clubs are there in the parishes, or if you can broaden it in the constituencies, what is the total membership that we have? Because we seem to be having an overlapping. The SDC is doing one thing, and the Ministry of Education is doing something else, and we, as members of Parliament who are responsible for the youths who are at risk, are not part of this program. So we would love to know what is really happening as it relates to this program. P.S.
Chairman, from Member Campbell, I'll just conclude for our members. P.S. I don't think we should drag you any further, actually. It doesn't make any sense at this stage. I think the point has been abundantly made clear that it would be best at this stage, and I'm happy we haven't spent much as yet, to literally go back, indicate all of the areas you will be going to. Why? Because we're going to ask the question, why were those the areas that you selected? And be able to argue that this information, you've collaborated with the SDC, and what is the rollout program, where you're going to go, when you're going to go, and be able to say, yes, we have notified the MPs. So coming back with a very structured, laid out thing to say, Member Wickham McNeil, we are coming into your constituency at X time. These are the groups that you have found. Or have you been able to identify 2 or 3 more youth groups because you know of this program and you would like to get a couple more youth groups involved? And then come back to us at that juncture where we would be, in my estimation, better able to benefit from what we believe is a very good program once well executed. Chairman, from this side as well, the point has been made that it is 1 o'clock. We wanted to bring it to your attention, and some of the members have some engagements. Please. They wanted to just bring it to your attention.
Member Campbell, you're no longer. No, absolutely. Turn on your mic, please.
Aside from what my friend has just said, they perhaps in bringing the assistance to us, you could just let us know the criteria upon which you make the allocations to these clubs. The time frame after you have set up these clubs, what level of activity do you require from these clubs in order to make the allocations to them? So in answering your questions, perhaps you could answer those. Thank you.
All right, members, let me, I'm going to summarize. Member, all right, please, let me summarize one thing and then just make a suggestion. Member Stewart and other members Member Holness have said something. I'm going to suggest that for all of us in Parliament, it may be useful. I think the Ministry of Youth, quite frankly, if I was to seek to find out my youth clubs, I would go to the SDC personally. But if you have a department that's doing it, and if you're collaborating, that's good. I think that a suggestion was made by a number of members. Could we see a combined list of youth clubs broken into constituencies so members have an idea of, and where they see it as lower than they would want, can engage and try and work with the organizations. That's number one. Number two, members, and I think from a personal point of view, but I project it to all of you. What has given me grave concern about this is the fact that they indicated to me they had one group in Westmoreland, and this second function was held in my constituency. They have now indicated they're paying out $30,000 to 55 groups. I don't know the groups. I don't think SDC knows the groups. I would really like to know who they're dealing with. And before, this figure came from UPS. I'm only giving you what I understand. What I understand from your discussion that you have not actually started disbursement of these funds yet. Am I correct?
14 clubs funds have been dispersed. But Chairman, I just want to clarify, Chairman, because I think that it must be clear that these 55 clubs are not in Westmoreland. These 55 groups are not in Westmoreland. It's across country.
No. Well, let me be.
Yes.
Look, I had asked you. You said 1.5 million was earmarked to pay clubs in Westmoreland.
1.65.
1.65, and you divided it by 30,000 each and came and told me it was 55 groups.
That may have been a misspeak, Chairman, but it's 1.65 overall, not in Westmoreland.
So how many are you paying out in Westmoreland?
We have asked, after the post-charge up, Chairman, for the clubs that have been formed in Westmoreland to apply.
So, but I get back to the point. Who is forming these clubs?
They are formed with this. They are being formed with the support of the youth empowerment officers in the youth division. And I take the point, Chairman, that that we need to go. We need to really have a real look at
I'm going to members on your behalf, Member Holness. I'd like to take it one step further from what you had said. I think this committee, I think this program is untidy, to say the least. I think it should be shut down until they can give us a proper idea of how they intend to operate, and that there's proper consultation with all the agencies that are already on the ground doing the work and pulling it together with everyone, and that once they have determined what they're doing, they can bring it back and we can determine that it's done in the proper manner. As it is now, I would be very uncomfortable to hear that this is being done in this manner.
Chairman, I think the word shutdown is too strong, that we wouldn't be asking that they shut down the program. You are at a place where you have done some spend already, is not to continue spending. Spend the time and just document and lay out for us what is going to be the rollout of the program and take that back before you continue. But to say shut it down is too strong, Chairman, because they still have employees in the department or agency, that department that is charged with this responsibility. And if we say shut down the program, it implies
by any other name. I simply say that before any funds are spent, certainly in my constituency, with groups to be formed and given funds, that there must be before the first dollar is spent, a clear idea what is the procedure. So until such time, I do not want it to proceed, and I will protect all that are in this room by indicating that that should apply across the island. So you can, I don't think it should take a month for them to bring back 2 weeks. If you could send back in 2 weeks and give us a clear picture of all expenditure, all groups that have been given funds already, and how the process is being done, and show us a proper process of consultation with the agencies on the ground who are doing the same thing but don't have funding, we would then look at it and make a recommendation to Parliament.
Chairman, the recommendations are taken on board.
Thank you. All right. So, members, I don't know if there's any other. Yes, your mic.
Touching the time, whether or not the time which is being put.
Sure. Would you need more time? Would you like some more time?
Well, more time is good. A month would be.
What would you be comfortable with?
A month is fine, Chairman. A month is fine. A month is fine.
We will. A month is. You can bring it back to us. Please send it to us in 3 weeks, and we will bring it back. Members, I'll send it out. We can look at it, and maybe in one of our meetings, we'll just ask them to come in early and just give us a 5-minute that they clear it up, and then we'll move on from there. Until such, please hold until such time.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
All right. So members, with that, I thank you for your. I thank you for a very lively, robust is a good word, meeting today. The Ministry Permanent Secretary and your representatives, thank you for coming today, and we look forward to seeing you back in a month. Members, thank you. This meeting is adjourned.